I'm Amanda Pasciucco. I'm a certified sex therapist, and today we're going to talk about how to do dirty, kinky text messaging as a way to get closer to your partner. I've been a sex therapist for over 6 years, and people ask me all the time, how do we send dirty, kinky text messages in a way to ignite playfulness and fun into our relationships? So the first thing we want to talk about is getting overt consent. Not just in our mind consent, but overt, that it's negotiated and that everyone has said yes. Get it in writing, in person, ask multiple times just because you want to be sure that you don't accidentally send dirty text messages to someone who doesn't want them. Make sure the person wants to be receiving these types of text messages for you for the best outcomes. So don't send kinky texts without consent, especially photos. No one wants an unsolicited photo, especially if there wasn't consent. Honestly, it will hurt the bond between you if you don't get consent and just begin this type of exchange with someone who isn't attuned to you or in a playful mood. We all have different parts of us. We have one body, but many inner aspects. So just because right now I'm talking to you and we're having this conversation, there's another part of me that gets super sleepy and tired that might actually say no to kinky texts, even though one part of me when I'm awake and playful and fun might say yes. So it also has to do with timing and what part of the other person we're interacting with when we send these messages. So if you want to learn more about giving, receiving, calibrating who you are to who they are, stay until the end for our giveaway on Francesca Gentile's Inner Aspect Method. So helpful for this. For those of you who want to send these text messages, be mindful that not every time will this end in orgasm or cyber sexting or even phone sex. Sometimes when you send these types of text messages, especially if it's a story, the other person receiving it might be busy, so they might not be able to respond for 24 hours or something, and that's okay. We want to allow space for people to be able to go in and out of this type of playfulness when they are able. Just because you're ready doesn't mean that someone else is. For those of you watching, have you ever received unsolicited, dirty, kinky texts or pictures? Please share your story below. My next favorite tip, if you both agree and you are going to engage in this, please don't give criticism in the middle. So say you're going back and forth with fun text messages, do not in the middle say, oh, I don't really like that, unless you're going to use red or a safe word to end the scene. Be sure to keep your criticism to the end. This way, we get in the flow, we're tuning to one another and enjoying one another, even if it's not perfect. It's your mind. The brain really sometimes cannot tell the difference between what's powerfully imagined and what's actually happening. So if you read something that you're not interested in, leave it till later, and then you can come back and make some criticisms after. Ask about hard limits. Things like, what is off bounds and you never want to hear in a story? Or say things like, I'd love to hear some of your fantasies. Are you open to sharing them with me? Or I have some desires that I think are really sexy. Are you open to hearing them? So these are types of things to elicit a back and forth with someone. And if the person you're talking with isn't much of a writer, but they want to do this with you, tell them to Google or find erotic stories online and then kind of tweak it to calibrate it to you. Also, if they don't want to do that, just ask them to share the story that they found with you. This will give you some insight onto what is actually happening. We're going to go into their mind and kind of see what their turn-ons are if we read stories that are what they're interested in. It's kind of like sharing porn, it's just a written version of it. And once you read an exchange that someone has sent, or once you're done with the conversation, your goal is to find 2 things that you found really erotic or exciting about it to send back to let them know you're listening, you're paying attention. So something like, ooh, I found that line, the 10th line in the story you sent, really attractive. When you said, insert the line here, I found that super sexy and a turn on. I found the tone of what you were writing enticing because I heard that you were using adjectives and certain words that really had me feel like I was in the story with you. Then be sure to ask what was the most erotic or enticing part to them. When they answer, be sure to make note of that because this is part of their erotic blueprint. Also, you can ask, what would you like me to know about you now that we've gone through these stories or this back and forth kinky messaging? What is most important for me to remember about you and your desire and your pleasure? These types of questions are going to bring you so much more playfulness. Next, ask consent to share a story of your own. Maybe you have something that you really want to share. Ask consent. Even if you have blanket consent, it's important to ask and start getting consent on the timing of when you send this so that they're in the right place to receive it. Also ask if they're willing to give a positive comment about it, just like you did after. Again, keep criticisms neutral and wait until after the stories or after the sexting. Be sure to also do 2 positives per 1 criticism because we want to really give generously with appreciations, especially when we're doing something like dirty, erotic, kinky writing. Leave lots of space for positive conversation and constructive criticism. My favorite thing of all, using a compliment sandwich. So 1 positive, 1 criticism, and then ending with a positive. Thank you so much for incorporating my love of bondage. I actually got a little turned off in the story when you rolled me onto my back and my arms were behind my back. In real life, that would actually hurt. However, the concept that you wanted to use bondage and tie me up and have your way with me is something I found really enticing, intriguing, and I would love to do that. Can we find a way to bring that into our real life or bring that into more of our texting in a way that attunes with both of us? People are allowed to give feedback. We just want to be generous in our appreciations instead of mostly critical, especially when we're talking about sex and playfulness. So you've stayed until the end. Now I really want you to download this e-guide because I think it will help you get the playfulness and integration that you want into your sexual and romantic life. If you like this video, hit like, subscribe, and the bell. We release new videos Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Amanda Pasciucco. Say hi on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at The Sex Healer or at Amanda Pasciucco. Have an amazing day. Thanks for watching.